welcome back to another Design League playthrough, and we have got something different. I say different, we've had a lot of steppe and desert in this, but this one's gone bold in a way that none of the others really did. There's water, there's like mountains everywhere, really rugged. Like, this is high risk. So I'm excited just because it's nice to see something different. And a really cool take. Lighting looks, I mean, very low, but looks like it works. So yeah, let's have a little play. View of first tee is really good. This sort of heavily downhill thing can be really tough to get right. Now I will say that I'm not bunker shapes. We're looking pretty funky here. I think with this one, that little island in the middle, you need to allow generally a little bit more bunker around it, but I think it's okay. I am just not sold on my elevation changes. I don't know whether that's too much, too little. Kind of common principle, I would suggest that this part of the fairway you need to be making wider. I think you're also starting it a little early, which makes this stretch of like what looks like runway go on quite a while. If you were to start this at around your 180 mark, so around about here, I think that works better. Give us a little bit more space to lay up in. Like if I choose to lay up with a 5-wood because I don't want to take on these bunkers in any way, shape or form, like that should be a play that's, I guess, not encouraged, but like you want to allow someone to lay back as much as possible so they can choose how much challenge they take on. Great look at this tee. Your tee box could be a little bit flatter, but not a big thing for me really. Ooh. Sculpting's a little bit raw there. Like, there are times when, and this is really tough, there are times when tumbling down a mountain feels like it's the right shot and the ball's reacting in the right way. Sometimes where it feels like we're just bouncing away from a bunker because, I mean, the bunker's not bad, but you've put it on a really tough bit of land and you've got it very thin. That's going to be hard to get right, let alone with the land around it, some of which we couldn't really see because of the bunker. And then this green is also tiny, but I mean, probably doable. This lie is going to be tricky. Oh, I didn't want to slow. Great view down over the rest though, like really cool. I would like that green to be less punitive. I think for a first hole, you're kind of requiring the absolute perfect shot, and taking this, it's quite a small green to begin with. When you then take out all of this with a swale and this bit and this bit and the back of it, you're left with, I'd say, one pin here, one pin here. That is like doable but dicey. For me, this is kind of unpinnable, all of this area. I don't think it's fair. But you have to have a pin there because you can't really put it anywhere else, I would imagine. Hey, that's one way to do it. Who needs pinnable area? Oh, so where are we going now? We're going way off over here. And like we've had cross-court course routings before, but something about this type of course, it lends itself to it in a way that you have to suspend disbelief a little bit. And this is just a great looking tee shot. I think I'm definitely dropping down because I feel comfortable hitting that flatter part. Only to land on a slight upslope, but hey. Now, do you think when you're doing this sort of stuff, you want to be constantly playtesting and looking at your sightlines and going, am I seeing everything I want to? So when we zoom in, you're seeing bits of the bunker pop up because they were sort of hidden. Just keep going. Like at this point, exit out, go into the editor, lower that bit of land, or raise where we're standing. Like make it so that, insofar as possible, wherever you are, you're seeing everything you want. Because I mean, you've done it on the tee shot. The tee shot looked fantastic. It's just then when you get those undulating fairways, the real skill is making sure that you see the view you really want the player to as much as possible. It's not always doable, but planting again, like pretty good, maybe a little patchy. In the spots that you planted are good. I'd probably try to tie this to this a little bit more, like a little bit of planting coming down, or even having just little outcroppings up here and here. It just feels like we've got an area of planting here and we're done and we're moving on, rather than just, there would probably be some here and a little cluster here. Just make it feel a little bit more of an environment rather than spots of planting. Oh, it was so close. But I mean, the big ideas of this plot are brilliant, and this is the sort of golf I do not design well, so I really appreciate it all the more. Okay, so now where have we come out? Okay, so we go down here. I mean, part of this is a routing challenge as well, so I will pick up on bits like that. So first green to second tee is a little bit of a stretch. You'd get dinged for this in other contests. And then we go all the way up here and then we walk down. Pretty long path, like it's doable, but you're kind of cheating on the elevation change a little bit by going downhill rather than going from very high up, which is fine, like it happens, but given that we started out from so high, I'd want us to be ending up pretty close to the same elevation change. Yeah, I think you kind of get what I mean. This green is kind of like our first. You're requiring a really perfect shot here. I've got absolutely no margin for error here, and I think our best miss is probably in the bunker. I certainly don't want to be putting from down here up to there. It's a really good looking hole. I would like a bit more planting around the water. It feels a touch too empty. But the idea is very cool. Oh, we got the tempo. Nope, we didn't. Bunker was fine. Bunker was always the miss there. Sculpting the little rocky areas are really good. Like, take this and move forward with it. That works really nicely. It's a little bit less good going into the water. It feels a bit manufactured. Those tee boxes certainly feel like you could make them. Like this area looks great. It fits. It's natural. That transition into the water is great. This stuff dead down. Like we're using circle brushes and just dropping the land down. It's less good. Those stand out quite a lot. I guess that's where we're going to go for our next tee shot anyway. Solid par 3, again I think I worry about your 4 pins on that green. Okay, so now we're going uphill and oof, okay. It's no out of bounds, but might as well be because I don't want to be down there. This is a good example of a drivable par 4 where, okay, we're in fantasy territory here. Like, it is drivable, it's very tight, but and I'd like to see a little bit more forgiveness around the green of, I don't see how I'm getting to pin up here. I think there's only one spot on the green where I can end up, rather than hitting to different spots of the green. But I think I definitely want to lay up on this one, because there's just so much trouble around the green, which, as you'll have seen from different drivable par 4s in this contest, there's been a bit of a mixture. Fairway undulations are hard to nail. These are a bit random because if you see how the ball kind of tumbled down, it just didn't really feel like that was necessarily what was expected, or I think it could be smoothed out a little bit. There's not much to say with this other than just keep working at it and you'll get better at it. They take a while. That's an awful shot. Thank goodness it's there. Could not have played that worse. Yeah, I'm okay with coming out without the par. I mean, wild in terms of ideas, and I like that you do not shy away from going for an uphill tee shot, because people can do. Might be tempted to lower this. This is, I say because I think this is messing with your sightline a little. It doesn't matter, but this area being high is really blocking us seeing any of our landing area. Which, I mean, if you can see where the ball is landing, that's generally a good roll. You can have blind shots, but they should be at a minimum and really serve a purpose. This green's good. Like, the last two greens have been like borderline but good. And that second green was good as well. Oh, it's a dreadful shot. I think sculpting is still something I would be working at. I think the ideas are there. I just don't think I don't think the execution is quite there to match the vision that you've got in your head. But like, I would always far rather people would try, and like that planting looks great. The rock like works really well. Same here. The rocky stuff down here. Let's zoom back to it. Like, this is really cool. You've done it really nicely and blended it in. Like, I am not worried about your planting or your environment creation, and there are some people for whom that's a real barrier. It's not yours. Yours is just going to be learning to make the tools do what you want so that you can make these crazy courses that live up to what you want. This drive, it's a little bit forced, like going, because if we do lay up, then we are pure blind from, and we've got absolutely no idea where we're going. And then we're going up high, and it's a very tough carry to get to there. I feel like we've got to try it, haven't we? Oh, and that's out of bounds. I mean, I don't really care, but is it marked? Yeah, you're going to want to mark that. Because people will, I think, rightfully get annoyed if they do that play that on tour and it's suddenly out of bounds and it hasn't been marked. I mean, you could argue, obviously it's a ravine, but there's been areas on the course which have been ravines that you haven't done it for. So, I think just consistency would be good. This is a good example of a second shot. Because I've laid up, I don't think I can reach here. Not in that wind. I could go driver, but that's foolhardy to say the least. So where do we lay up? Well, can't lay up there, it's too narrow. Can't lay up there because I'm going to run into a bunker. Can't lay up there because that little bit of fairway is too narrow, and this little lobe of fairway isn't helping me. Can't lay up there, too narrow. Can't lay up there, it's going to run out of fairway. So we are having to lay up with our second shot basically with a pitching wedge. And then forcing the same length of shot in again. So I think really be mindful of layup zones as well. If people can't hit it or are uncomfortable hitting it to that specific area, where are you giving them where they do feel comfortable and they have more width? I think as a guiding principle, one that's always stuck with me is if someone wanted to play your hole the easiest way possible and get a bogey, how would they do that? Now, if that means clubbing down to 5 iron short of the green, splashing on 2 putts, fine. Like you've got to allow the player to play the hole as safely as possible, but knowing that by doing so they're dramatically reducing their chances of making birdie or potentially par. They still might, but you've got to allow someone a chance to take on 0 risk on a hole. And I don't think that last one really did it. So yeah, I mean, loads to like there. I think the imagination is slightly ahead of the execution at this stage, but it will get there, and keep persevering. Like, I'd always rather people were going more like pushing themselves and staying inside your comfort zone. Now, you pushing yourself might not be doing this wild sort of plot. Probably is, but it might not be. Like, pushing yourself might be doing the most restrained, clean countryside course. But I'm really pro people developing their skills by trying different things. So, yeah, I mean, that was a lot of fun. I think green, fairway in reg to green in reg tells a bit of a story there. So, look, best of luck with the contest. Enter more of them and just keep going. Take care.